how many downloads of Jim and Bill It's Another Day podcast?
Today, the podcast show has fetched 400 million downloads since its start, and an average of 350,000 downloads per episode, about 3.9 million downloads per week.
Well, hello there. It's another day. I'm Jim Harrington.
And I'm Bill Nye. Question for you.
Okay.
Is Joe Biden still president? Jeez.
I don't know.
Let's get this clown out of there.
You know, he spoke yesterday, and we lost Jimmy Carter yesterday. And, you know, I'm sorry the man, passed. Although he had a wonderful life, 100 years, 100-year-old, that's amazing. His wife passed away a little over a year ago. I guess it was November of 2023. Rosalind passed.
Right.
He wasn't having a good year this year. I saw him being wheeled out to watch a flyover, and the man looked catatonic. You know, he was mouth open, staring at the sky, and he was in a wheelchair,
I had wondered if they wheeled out a corpse, if they were just...
nowadays, I don't know what the heck's going on. I mean, do we know, what's honest, what's truthful, and what's not?
Well, I mean, you mentioned before the show, and I had thought that too, and they've touted, well, he was staying alive to vote for Kamala.
Bill, if it was the guy they wheeled out in October on the lawn.
He didn't know who he voted for if he voted at all.
He wasn't carrying on a conversation with anybody on that lawn. They were talking to his ear, and his mouth wasn't moving. His eyes weren't blinking. You can see it. It's online. If you go to Gateway Pundit, you can see the video.
It's all been a lie.
Yeah.
It has been a lie for 4 years. The Democrats have gone as far as saying, well, yeah, we knew that when we ran him that he wasn't, he didn't have any really
you mean
cognitive
Biden.
ability.
You mean Biden.
Yeah. I'm talking about Biden.
Yeah.
But it's been a scam for 4 years. They knew that when they ran him, he didn't have full faculties.
Well, I got a question. If he's been out of it for 4 years, do any of these executive orders and do any of these pardons have any validity to them?
No, but if somebody in Congress has a pair of balls, they would sit there and do a bill about.
There, sir, is the caveat. There's the qualifier. These guys in Congress, Bill, are so full of nonsense. They're full of something else, but we're a family show. They come out and they huff and they puff and they do nothing.
The Democrats have really come out now, and they've actually admitted that, he didn't have it to begin with, which is an admission. If you sit there and peel the layers of the onion back, is an admission that they stole the election. And there's so many things that are becoming, evident now, which is why they're scrambling, pardon this guy, pardon that guy.
Well,
you know what? I don't think your pardons are worth a sack of poop.
We can talk about that in a second because there's some interesting stuff with regard to that. But, Biden came out and made some comments about the passing of Jimmy Carter. And this is what he sounded like.
Yeah.
This is the president of the United States of America speaking to the world.
He was like my dad. He thought that, you say, Joe, your job's about a lot more than a paycheck. It's about dignity, your dignity.
Oh, but that wasn't all. Listen to this.
Oh, yeah.
My main contact is Chip.
Is there anything that President Trump to take from President Carter?
Decency. Everybody deserves a shot. Everybody. Can you imagine Jimmy Carter walking by someone and he needs something and just keep walking? Can you imagine Jimmy Carter referring to someone by the way they look or the way they talk? I can't. I think the end of the deal here is that one of the reasons why we're looked to by the rest of the world, for the bulk of our nation, we've laid out what our values are. We've said what we believe. It's not just in the Declaration we hold these truths to be self-evident, but there's a feeling. The rest of the world looks to us talks to us, that he was worth looking to. Thank you very much.
You know, I'm sorry. I
Yeah.
played the whole thing because I wanted you to hear it in its entirety, but I didn't understand a word the guy was saying. He said decency, decency, decency. By the
he was
way,
talking about Trump.
yeah, and when he said it, he had the creepiest look on his face. The creepiest look. You know, the guy is, I was thinking to myself, decency. This is the guy who went to the Dover Air Force Base when they were bringing the 13 bodies home and kept checking his watch in front of the families, right? This is the
He's
guy.
got no decency.
No. I mean, by the way, he's talking about Trump, right? Decency?
Yeah.
Trump gave his paycheck to charitable organizations for his entire presidency and is doing it again.
And Trump had very nice things to say, you know, about Carter and his passing. Look, Carter was not a great president.
Well,
he was not good at all.
Want me to read
but
it
he
to you?
was a decent guy. Look, he in his poor health wanted to be alive all the way through his Rosalind's life, and he did that. You know, so that's a stand-up thing.
You know, he was the guy in my lifetime who moved me out of the Democratic Party and into the Republican Party. By the time his presidency was over, I was so done with what the Democratic Party was because they'd taken in his presidency a great country, a magnificent country, and showed the world that we can also be a mediocre country if done properly or done improperly in the case of Jimmy Carter. He's the guy who had 8 helicopters go on a rescue mission into Tehran to rescue the people who were held hostage, and they flew into a sandstorm, and a bunch of our best and bravest were killed in that rescue raid because it was poorly prepared.
Well, they didn't train. They were poorly prepared, and the copters weren't maintained.
Right.
The military hardware wasn't maintained, and him, with a military background, should have known better.
Absolutely.
You know,
I want This is what President Trump wrote. This is now you heard Biden. Yeah, this is what President Trump issued on Truth Social yesterday. I just heard of the news about the passing of President Jimmy Carter. Those of us who have been fortunate to have served as president understand this is a very exclusive club, and only we can relate to the enormous responsibility of leading the greatest nation in history. The challenges Jimmy faced as president came at a pivotal time for our country, and he did everything in his power to improve the lives of all Americans. For that, we owe him a debt of gratitude. Melania and I are thinking warmly of the Carter family and their loved ones during this difficult time. We urge everyone to keep them in their hearts and prayers. That was from President Trump. And that sounds like what you would get from a president of the United States, as opposed to decency. And I love it. In the first clip I played, Bill, he talks about his father. Let me just play it. It's only 7 seconds.
Oh, he's said that line before.
Yeah, listen.
About his dad.
He
and
was
everyone
like my
else.
dad. He thought that you say, Joe, your job's about a lot more than a paycheck. It's about dignity, your dignity.
God. His dad, he must have memorized everything his father said to him. Everything. Unbelievable.
He makes stuff up. He's a good liar on the fly. And he's been that way. He's a fast talker, which is interesting for a guy with a stuttering speech impediment. I tend to say that whole thing was a game. I think he's played games all his life from a child, and he knew how to get away with things and do things that way. And, once a cheat, always a cheat. Once a liar, always a liar. Once a cheater, always, infidelity.
Yeah.
All the things I just mentioned, he's guilty of, and he's admitted to back in 88. Yeah, I'm a liar. I've always been a liar, and I'll continue to lie. Take him at his word right there then and transpose it all the way forward. He's lied throughout his life. He's stolen. He's committed every sin in the Bible and multiply it 100 times. This guy is filthy. And so for him to sit there and say, decency, decency, decency. Everybody deserves a chance. Take him at his word. Okay. Take Biden at his word. Do not let him sit there and go down with dignity that he doesn't deserve. Give him exactly what he deserves.
As a former president of the United States, with regard to Jimmy Carter, I'm saddened at his passing. Of course,
me too.
But he had a great life. I mean, long life and a great life, and he lived it his way. He had the love of his life until just a year ago. The guy had he had respect that he didn't deserve, by the way, because
he wasn't a good politician.
He was he was a lousy president.
But look at all the good things he did. You know, the Habitat for Humanity, the homes. He was out there swinging a hammer. When I saw that, I said, now that is a good guy. I didn't like his presidency, but that was a good guy.
They say
he
wasn't
doing things.
He wasn't the nicest guy as the president, by the way, to his staff. He was kind of difficult. You know, he was the guy, if you remember, during his inauguration, he and Rosalind got out of the limo and decided to walk down Pennsylvania Avenue to the White House. You know, because they wanted to show that they were people. They were just ordinary people. They weren't nothing special.
Right.
You know, and I'm sorry, but when you're the president of the United States, you are special. You are special, and you should be treated as such. He was not. He was a smart guy, Bill. I think he was. He got a degree like in nuclear physics.
Which is interesting because you remember 3 Mile Island? Now, he decided to go there and walk into a thing that could have gone off at any time.
Yeah.
Now, because of his background with, knowing what, could happen there
right.
and the danger of it, it was a calculated, chance, because it could have gone awry. As a matter of fact, that thing still isn't stable. I understand it's eating through the bottom layers, and at some point in time, that containment down at the bottom, and they don't know what to do about it. And that's not sitting too far from Harrisburg. And, you got to think about the farm ground there. I mean, that thing was a disaster from the beginning.
You would think there'd be some way of enclosing it in concrete. Like, I think that's what they did with Chernobyl.
But it's the bottom. How do you do that? Because then you have to.
Well, I mean, we have machines that can bore underground. So,
well, maybe there's maybe now they couldn't then. I mean, but what he did is he put himself in imminent danger, and you usually don't let a president do that.
You know what else he was?
Did.
I think he was a submariner. He was in the. He's a graduate, I believe, of Annapolis. And I think he was worked on submarines.
He was.
Yeah, he was. I mean, the guy was. He was a good man. I mean, he was a good man personally. A lousy president.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. And I'm saying, with the Chernobyl thing, he put himself in imminent danger going there because he wanted to calm the nerves of everybody, and he knew the only way he could do that is if he was willing to walk in there himself.
Would we have had Ronald Reagan if we didn't have Jimmy Carter?
No, probably not.
You're right.
Because we realized what we had put in there. And, in Trump's case, they realized what they had. They took the Democrat lie, and I think the election was a lie because I think people voted for Trump. They wanted more of that. But in reality, I think besides what's going on with Biden right now, Biden's doing everything he can to burn down that White House. And he doesn't care about the country. He doesn't care about it. He does care about his legacy. And that's the one thing you can threaten him with. And you may as well go ahead and take it away and throw it down the toilet and let him see you flush it because he's flushing America away. You may as well flush his legacy away. And I think because he is senile, I think we go back. The Democrats have proven he was senile from day one. He should have never been run or elected. Makes me question the if it was a legit election. I don't think it was. And
I don't think so either.
But either way, if he was senile all the way through, Kamala didn't do anything, and she's proven she's.
If we said what we just said 3 or 4 years ago, we would be deplatformed in a number of different places. Just because
we did get deplatformed.
Well, that's true.
Places.
But just because we said that, we were pulled off certain social media platforms.
YouTube.
Because we had the audacity to have an opinion that didn't correspond with the mainstream media.
You can go on Facebook and YouTube and have some skinny little, Oriental girl in, a skimpy skirt and flimsy underwear or none at all.
Right.
And pull up her skirt and do all kinds of gyrations
Oh, I
for
know.
all the world to see. And that's cool. But if you have an opinion on politics, YouTube goes, oh, you can't talk about it. We're going to have to ban you. Yeah, and the same thing now is going on with Facebook, and they got, they got the sex clickbait. And I'm sitting there going,
well, some people wonder why, when we first started doing the show on Facebook, we would post the link to the show. And we stopped doing that. We stopped doing it because when Facebook saw the link, they would not publish the announcement, our message. Yeah. So now we just tell our viewers, our fans,
another show's up.
Yeah, another show's up. Go get it. Because if you do it any other way, they'll take you off. And
if there's a hot word or phrase in the news, and we go, oh yeah, we're talking about this today,
gone.
It's gone because they don't even take the chance to hear what you have to say. We could be sitting there on their side, but they'll ban it, because, and, they're right to have banned it since they don't agree with it because we weren't on their side ever, ever, because I know where they sit and we are on the side for decency and justice. And
there is so much to talk about today. It's funny. It was not like a busy weekend because I checked the news all. But it seems like it all kind of bunched up toward the end of the weekend. And but let's take a pause for 1 second to point out that you can get Jim and Bill's It's Another Day coffee. Right now, I gave it a new name. Bill, I gave the coffee a new name. Jim and Bill's Right Side Coffee. Jim and Bill's Right Side Coffee. You can get it right now on rightsideshop.com. Rightsideshop.com. I got a package of our coffee, and it is such a neat, well-designed package, and the coffee is delicious. You really should try it. Tell your friends about it. When you buy a package, we don't get the whole profits. We get a percentage of the profits because someone has to make it, somebody has to get the beans, the whole process.
Really, how that works, is if it cost, I don't know. Let's say it cost $12 to make the bag. There might be $1 or $2 in there for us, and then there's the other marketing, shipping, handling. By the time we're done, we're going like, hey, how do we split a quarter?
Yeah, right. We don't make a lot. We're not going to get rich, but we would encourage you to try the coffees. And if you can tell friends to try it, we'd appreciate it. It's at rightsideshop.com. Jim and Bill's Right Side Coffee. And also, we're the only guys in the world that have Juan, Jose, and the Border Crossers who sing the jingle.
Wake up on the right side with Right Side Coffee.
And they do it so well, don't they? That's Juan, Jose, and the Border Crossers. Pardon?
Yeah. They're darn good at it.
They want to stay in this country, too. They really do. They came across
I think they're going to need a sponsor, and I think, I'll sponsor one, you sponsor the other. And
how about the Border Crossers?
Well,
they're on their own.
Yeah, they're on. No. You guys are okay, too. As a matter of fact, how many? But see, it's an odd number there, So one of us is going to have to sponsor more than the other one.
Yeah, Juan, Jose, they came to the United States the old-fashioned way. They swam. Anyway.
Yeah. They went around and
exactly.
Came up through Louisiana, went through the swamps and everything.
You got to try the coffee and tell your friends about it. By the way, thanks for listening. We appreciate it. We get numbers. They're basically stable. The real numbers. We're doing close to 4 million a week. And that's a lot of people listening around the world, and we do appreciate it. And we would appreciate you telling your friends about the show because we'd like to increase it over the next year. It would mean a lot to us. We're getting a good feeling about where the show is going, and we want to share it with a lot of different people. And we would appreciate you telling your friends about Jim and Bill's It's Another Day. All right. Bill, we talked about this before, and this is amazing. Another fire at a food processing plant. We have talked about this on and off over the past 2 years on a regular basis. I think we've counted over 100 different processing plants gone. Now there's another one over the weekend, which actually killed a person and injured a bunch of people. It was at a Tyson chicken poultry plant in Georgia. This is not the first time Tyson has lost a plant. Your volume is down, so my friend has gone silent on me. One person is dead, several injured after an explosion at a poultry plant in Georgia. An explosion at Tyson food plants in southwest Georgia overnight killed a woman sleeping in the cab of an 18-wheeler parked in the facility. It engulfed the 18-wheeler. You're back, Bill. You
heard a thump in the background.
Yes, I hear
me slamming my fist against something new.
It was very technical. I like how you do that. It was very done like an engineer.
Well,
you just pounded on it.
Yeah, I thumped it with my thumb, and I said, "Well, there you go."
Yes.
But, this situation with that is it's nothing new. But at what point do we hit this critical point of no return, where we're losing the food processing plants and we don't have enough, to sit there and meet the...
We're getting there, Bill.
We're getting there.
Yeah.
And you know what? It sounds really suspicious with the explosion. What, a chicken blow up and take down the whole plant?
I mean, how many... Tyson chicken poultry plant blows up, catches fire. What are they making in there?
I don't know. I mean, would they feed the chickens gunpowder and somebody light up a cigarette?
No. I think they're feeding the chickens beans, and they're gaseous.
Well, again, don't light a match or smoke a cigarette. But either way, and we're making fun of it, but it's not funny because at some point in time, we won't have enough food to feed everyone. And I circled back around to Joe Biden and this administration, and there's so many things that we can lay on their doorstep. Why is this happening? Why have they not gotten to the bottom of it? But they've always said, "Oh, this is we don't have that loss of food processing plants," but it's over 100.
Yes. Well,
and
I heard a very sinister thing over the weekend, and I think there may be some truth to it. There is a belief that it all goes back to. Dare I say, the pharmaceutical companies?
Yeah.
And what they would love to do is they would love to get us all eating manufactured food. Maybe stuff made with insects and things like that. They would love to take us away from honest-to-God vegetables and real chicken. Get us away from that and get us to eating processed food.
Stop this bus.
Uh-huh.
Because one of the problems why we have the fattest country in the world is because of processed food that we have
I agree.
now. You go to McDonald's, and I love McDonald's, and the burgers are great, but it's got a lot of salt in it. So why do you think that we've gone from little burgers to big burgers? Because of the salt, because salt makes you hungry. But now, how long can that burger sit on that tray there? Well, it can sit a long damn time because it's got a lot of chemicals in there. As a matter of fact, from what I understand, you take a McDonald's bun and go put it on a tray out in the yard, it's not going to mold up anytime soon because it's got all these preservatives in there. And those preservatives don't preserve you. They kill you. They give you diseases. Anything from cancer to whatever, you name it, diabetes, you name it. We are giving our American people that. You go to any other country, you buy a Coke, you buy a hamburger, anything, it doesn't have the same crap in it that we put in ours.
A lot of the same companies that sell these processed foods here in England and in France and Germany, they sell the same product but with far less ingredients in it.
Yeah. And there's so many healthy natural things that you can do that's good for the heart, good for your blood flow. Stupid things like corn pepper, or something like that is good for your immune system, your metabolism, and your gut process. And believe it or not, since all of that's tied in, it ties into, if some guy's going, well, I'm getting older, And it helps your sex drive out there too, buddy. But either way, I'm just saying we are being poisoned.
Yeah.
And our lifespan is being controlled by these big pharmaceutical companies and chemical companies. Let's get back to some basics and get them out of there.
Another story that came out over the weekend. All of a sudden, we have got to be concerned about the bird flu.
Yeah.
Now, mind you, I lived my whole life without going through a pandemic till 2019. The last, I believe, pandemic before 2019 was the Spanish flu of 1918. So that was, 101 years, no pandemic? Now, we have one in 2019, and they're saying, it looks like we may have another pandemic on the horizon with this, what is it, the chicken flu or fowl flu?
The bird flu.
They had a doctor, her name is Lena Wen. That's her.
COVID lady.
Yeah, and she was on, let me read the story. It says, Dr. Lena Wen, she says, the communist doctor who demanded, I like how they write this. This is obviously a right-leaning a reporter. The communist doctor who demanded Americans lose all their rights during the COVID pandemic. She was on Face the Nation on Sunday discussing the bird flu outbreak. The CDC recently confirmed the first severe U.S. human case of H5N1 bird flu in a 65-year-old Louisiana man who had contact with sick backyard birds. One confirmed case in 330 million people, and that person just happened to have chickens in his backyard. But listen to Dr. Lena Wu on Face the Nation over the weekend.
What should be happening in the Biden administration right now that isn't going on?
Yeah, there are two main things that they should be doing in the days that they have left. The first is to get testing out there. I feel like we should have learned our lesson from COVID that just because we aren't testing, it doesn't mean that the virus isn't there. It just means that we aren't looking for it. We should be having rapid tests, home tests available to all farm workers, to their families, for the clinicians taking care of them so that we aren't waiting for public labs and CDC labs to tell us what's bird flu or not. And the second very important thing is this is not like the beginning of COVID where we were dealing with a new virus. We didn't have a vaccine. There actually is a vaccine developed already against H5N1. The Biden administration has contracted with manufacturers to make almost 5 million doses of the vaccine. However, they have not asked the FDA to authorize the vaccine. There's research done on it. They could get this authorized now and also get the vaccine out and to farm workers and to vulnerable people. I think that's the right approach because we don't know what the Trump administration is going to be doing around bird flu. If they have people coming in with anti-vaccine stances, could they hold up vaccine authorization? If they don't want to know how much bird flu is out there, could they withhold testing? I mean, that's a possibility. And I think the Biden administration in the remaining days should get testing and vaccines widely available so that at least it empowers state and local health officials and clinicians to do the right thing for their patients.
Dr. Wen, is bird flu in humans super dangerous?
Well, the World Health Organization estimates that in prior outbreaks of the bird flu, that the mortality rate is 52%. 52%. However, in this most recent outbreak, it seems that most cases have been mild, and maybe some people even have asymptomatic infection. But the question is, we don't know what happens when bird flu affects more vulnerable individuals. People infected so far in the U.S. have been mainly farm workers who are working, presumably generally healthy, as opposed to what happens when you get to children, to pregnant women, to older individuals with chronic illnesses. We don't know how deadly, how dangerous bird flu is going to be for those individuals. And again, that's one more reason why we don't want it to spread and acquire more mutations.
You know, she says 52%, right? But let me just, they probably were in undeveloped countries. This is from the World Health Organization, who, by the way, gave us all the wrong information about COVID-19. They were saying social distance, wear masks, all that stuff was proven over the course of time to be ineffective.
But did you listen to what she's saying? I mean, there's no proof that there is Now, look, you always got to keep your guard up, but there's no proof that there's imminent danger or anything
Right.
going on right now. What she's asking for is a windfall of money,
Oh, yeah.
a windfall of money to do all this stuff. But it's almost a threat.
But wait a
because-
second. There's no proof that it's going to be a pandemic. There's no proof.
Right.
There's no proof that it's terribly dangerous, right?
Exactly.
But yet, this time around, she's saying there's already a vaccine on the shelf. They already put something together for this quote pandemic that may happen.
Well, this sounds like a threat. Now, it sounds like they're going to launch, and maybe they're telling Biden to launch it now, because there seems to be not only money grabs going on, but power grabs going on. And the Democrats would love nothing more than a reason to suspend, freeze, or do whatever. You know, they're running because they know their days are numbered and they know they're in trouble.
They are.
And that they're like rats fleeing on a ship trying to figure out how to get off the damn boat before it goes down. And the boat is the Democratic boat that we're talking about.
It's
here.
funny you should say that, because I was reading a story where all of the prosecutors who were involved with the lawfare cases against Trump in the Justice Department are now seeking private personal counsel, getting their own lawyers, and many of them have started looking for jobs outside of government. Even the guys who were on a career path have decided, okay, I was involved with this case against Trump. I'm getting out of government. I'm going to go hide somewhere. I'm getting out of the line of fire. So they're jumping ship. It's just the beginning, by the way. This is not the end. You're going to see this happening in a lot of areas. Like you said, they're trying to get money out of Biden too. Look at what's happening with the Ukraine.
Well, yeah, today there's supposed to be some big announcement where they're going to give more aid to the Ukraine. Look, we've got homeless people. We've got veterans, starving people here. If you took all the money that we've given to the Ukraine, and we've gotten nowhere, but we gave it to house the veterans, to help get the homeless off the street and get them retrained and directed into a career.
God.
And actually helped out our senior citizens, because we could have done all that with that.
Oh, absolutely.
Guess what? We would be in a lot better shape. And you know what? Not let the border be open where we've got a new carfentanil coming in. Not fentanyl, carfentanil.
Oh, listen to this, folks. This is not fentanyl, which is incredibly deadly. This is something even worse.
This is 100 times more dangerous. Now, it's fentanyl souped up that has been re-engineered.
Right.
And you know how it's gotten here? There have been 29 deaths from it in the past month. It's grown 700%, the death toll, and it's coming across through the border, illegals.
Oh, no.
And it's been happening in the past month. This is an epidemic. And look, I'm maybe a little bit of a radical. I'm sitting there going, this stuff is so deadly. It's more powerful than morphine, 100 times more powerful than fentanyl itself. I'm saying, if you got caught with it, you intend to take it? You know what? I'm sorry, but you know, maybe you need some help. But if your intent is to distribute, you're a murderer. And I don't believe in the we've got to crack down on this drug thing. So
I think anybody caught distributing
instant sentence, instant death sentence.
Well, no, very simple. You just make them take a couple of doses of their own product.
Well, they won't do it. So, but I'm just saying, we've got to sit there and make a consequence, and not let the legal system and I can make some money out of defending this guy and getting them off. Forget about that. You know what? If you are in cahoots,
but see, this is why
with the death of America, then you need to.
But this
suffer.
is why Biden just approved 200 and some new judges.
Yeah, and he's still trying to do more.
They're shoving through all these liberal judges who are going to mess things up, who are going to screw things up, make things difficult. They're saying if they can't beat Trump at the ballot box, they're going to beat him in the court of law. I hope that Trump is, and I do think he's smart enough right now where he's seen this already. He's seen through this. I don't know. Speaking of the Ukraine, by the way, we gave 30% of our ATACMS long-range missiles, I mean, from our stockpile of missiles, from not like 30% extra on top of our stockpile.
No.
We went to our stockpile. We took 30% of our ATACMS missiles out of our stockpile, gave it to the Ukraine, and now they're running out of it, and they haven't done a damn bit of good for the Ukraine war.
Well, my question is, okay, have they used them all? Is there an accounting for them? Or are they kind of
selling them on the black market?
Selling them on the black market? Are they squirreling them away for something else? Because, well, they know the gravy train's going to quit, and when Biden is gone, Trump's going to say no, and they're going to, well, we got these, because once they're in their hands, they're theirs. So what? Look, this whole Ukraine thing, that's got to stop. And again, somebody's got to grow a set and sit there and say Biden's incompetent, declare it, and make it retroactive to where the Democrats admitted that he was not competent, and that was when he was sworn in. And then that should open the door for, going back and looking at that election, which already they're finding the evidence there that it really was stolen. I'm sorry, lefties, but you stole it. And there's footage on it. The evidence is there. And, no apology needed, because we consider you stupid now, just like you thought we were.
James Comer, he hasn't missed an opportunity to be on television. Mm-hmm. Every time he gets a chance to be on a Sunday show, he combs his hair, straightens his tie, and he's there. And he's always making promises how they're going to be, the Biden and this corrupt administration are going to be brought to justice. He did it again this past weekend. The only thing you can hope for is that now, with a new administration coming into government, that maybe things will be a little different. But I hear him talk, and when you just listen to him, you kind of get an enthusiastic, like, oh, yeah, things are going to get better. The guy never does a damn thing. I'm talking about when the cameras are off, the lights are off, it's like, okay, forget I ever said it. It's like it's all quiet on the Western Front. Anyway, right. I'm going to play the cut. This is Comer on television over the weekend talking about the Biden administration and the possibility of investigating them in the future. Listen.
From an investigation standpoint, we need to hold people accountable. And you look at, with respect to what's come out this week, with the pictures that the National Archives never would release that show that Joe Biden lied. He did, in fact, introduce his son to all these Chinese people. Joe Biden did, in fact, meet with all these Chinese people that were wiring his family millions of dollars for mysterious reasons. And we knew it. And I think the American people with common sense knew it. But what's most troubling, Jason, is how many people in the federal government knew that Joe Biden was lying when he said he didn't know why his family was getting all that money, when he said he never met with any of these people. The CIA knew, the IRS knew, the FBI knew. They need to be held accountable. The National Archives, not only have they sat on those pictures and they were only released because of a lawsuit, they also never have released the pseudonym emails. This agency will be brought in front of the House Oversight Committee, and they're going to have to explain themselves as to why they obstructed our investigation. I want to work with Kash Patel. I want to work with all the new Trump cabinet secretaries where we can hold the deep state actors accountable, because the American people have lost confidence in the government. And I think what role oversight will play in this new administration is trying to drain the swamp, and that's going to begin by getting these federal bureaucrats who have abused their power. They're unelected. They've not been held accountable. No one's overseen them. There are no checks and balances, and bring them in and try to get them, at the very least, terminated, and try to get reforms in place to where this can never happen again, and the American people can begin to have confidence in their government agencies again.
Yeah, most people, I think, don't realize that, or at least the allegation is that Joe Biden was using a pseudonym, as you talked about, a fake name to be able to communicate, which violates and bypasses the Federal Records Act. And it'll be interesting to see who and how that was all communicated with. And when you don't show up at the White House and you work out of your residence at home, again, you get to bypass a lot of traditional things that are embedded in the law. But you talk generally about waste and fraud and abuse, and look, you do yeoman's work in highlighting this, but give us some highlights, give us an idea of where those priorities are, because, you know, it's laudatory to be able to talk about, oh, hey, we're going to get rid of waste, fraud, and abuse, but what specifically can you get at?
Well, one of the big areas of waste and abuse in the federal government are fraudulent payments. Our information technology systems in the federal government are 1980s technologies. They're very susceptible to being hacked, and they're being hacked by foreign actors. And it's not just the unemployment insurance funds. It's not just the COVID money. There are SBA loans. There are so many grants within the federal government where fraudulent payments are going on. In Medicare, Medicaid, people are being paid fraudulently. One of the things that Musk and Ramaswamy want to do that hasn't gotten much attention, but I think they would know as much about as anybody, is updating the technology, modernizing the technology to prevent fraud. I mean, fraudulent payments go out every day in the federal government, and our government isn't equipped to be able to go after them, especially if they're from fake accounts in African countries or in European countries. There's no mechanism in place to go back and claw that money back and hold people accountable. So at the very least, we need to fix our technology, and we've never had anyone take the initiative to do that in the federal government, and that's one of the things that DOJ wants to do, and hopefully our committee will work with.
I got to tell you, folks, I mean, I listened to him talk, and he really sounds good. He sounds excited, enthusiastic. It sounds like something's going to get done, but I've heard that song and dance routine for the past 2 years from this guy, and nothing gets done. Nothing. I challenge you to point to one thing that he's done with his hearings and his different promises that has actually come to fruition. I can't think of a damn thing.
Neither can I. But you know what? We always hear this same old song and dance, and we're tired of it.
Yeah.
And it's time for them to put up or get out.
You know, Bill, there's a lot of people who talk about Trump, and his administration is going to be exciting in a lot of ways. There are a lot of people who feel that he's not just coming here to do the same old song and dance, that he actually is coming with a plan, and a lot of the deep state in Congress are going to feel his wrath. You know, I mean, there are people in government, in Congress, who are not on our side. They may have the R behind their name, you know, but they have more in common with those across the aisle who have a D behind their name than they do with the people they're supposed to represent.
You know, we elected a president to do something, but we have to help in this because there's only so much you can do. Now, you know, I've said it before, in management, you walk into a company that is riddled with all kinds of failure and backstabbing and, you know, little side takes and everything like that. There's a thing that I didn't invent, but I've done it before. You walk in, it's called the grenade theory. You throw a grenade in the room and you blow it up. Everybody gets to reapply for their job. Why should I keep you?
Yeah.
What do you bring to the table? He can't exactly do that because these are elected officials, but what he can do to us is tell us, you know, who's good and who's bad. And when it comes time, congressional votes and whatnot, it's time to replace. And if he says this person's not good, take his word for it, because you put him in there, take his word for it. You have the power, and, you know, he's going to do what he can, but he's got to do what he can with what he's got.
A lot of people are saying that, unlike the first term, when he first came into office, in his first term, he knew nobody. He didn't have his people in place. He didn't know the right people for the right jobs. It was it was really hunt and peck, if you know what I mean.
Well, now he knows.
Well, now he knows. And they think that the difference this time around is he's put together a whole staff of people that he can depend on, and they're all on the same page. And what I think they're going to do this time around, and I was thinking this is a great idea, if they gave you one thing at a time, the media would have a chance to tear you apart because that's their job. They just want to destroy his administration. But I think what you're going to find is there going to be a number of fronts opening at the same time in justice and the Secretary of State. I mean, all these different things are going to start happening, major things, because of the people that he has in place. He's going to open, if you think of it as a battle, he's going to open the battle on a lot of different fronts so that the media hasn't got a chance to focus on just one area. Do you know what I'm saying? He's going to flood the zone, as they would say in basketball. Right. And I think that's probably where you should look to his administration in the first 100 days. I could be wrong, but I mean, that I think you're going to see that he's coming into office this time around, and he's going to nail people from a number of different avenues.
You know, we've got to get to his first 100 days, and Biden's doing everything he can to blow up America. And if you don't believe it, go back and look at what he's done. Hell, he did the 50 executive orders on a stroke of the pen on Christmas Eve. Now, some were good, some were just,
he
fluffy.
Released a ton of different capital, criminals.
Yeah, and that was bad.
Awful.
He's done a lot of bad things. Now, like saying, okay, the American bald eagle, you might have thought that was the national bird. It wasn't. He did that, and he thinks that'll help his legacy. No, you're too stupid, Joe. You've done a lot of bad things. That's not going to help. Okay, that's the one good thing. What about these the swamp, the federal employees that Trump said he's going to fire? Well, he gave them, a 5-year leave.
Is that definitive? I haven't seen that.
I heard about it over the weekend, so I'm mentioning it. If it's definitive, it's not a good thing because that means that they get a 5-year furlough, and they can, I guess they get it with pay, and it means they can't be fired during that leave of absence.
So you're saying instead of having these people leave office, he's saying, look, I'll furlough you for 5 years. They can't fire a furloughed employee. You'll still keep your benefits, and in 5 years,
everything.
5 years, you can come back into office under a different administration.
Right, because Trump will be gone, and things will be forgotten, and you get to go back in, which means, too, that we're going to pay them, and that means we got to have someone else do the job, and that job is going to be temporary. Or if the Democrats get back in, they'll just say, ooh, we made the swamp bigger. And I'm going, but that's why we need to sit there and shut Biden down now and question anything he's done in the past 4 years.
It says here, by the way, another article I was looking at, Biden is furious that Merrick Garland didn't do enough to lock up his political opponent. He thinks Trump should have been jailed. He thinks Garland should have put Trump in jail. This is Biden. He also thinks that he would have beaten Trump in 2024. He is friggin' delusional, friends. He's delusional. He doesn't realize how much the country is of him and his mumbles and his bad decisions.
Is he a senile old man that you just got to sit there going, and just let him go? But the more you let him go, he's still got the power to sit there, and he's already taking all that hard-earned money that you pay into taxes and giving it away and running up that national debt. Now, and then that's a big dance too, the song and dance of the national debt, which you're probably going to hear news about that, where they're going to lift and take away the debt, which means, because the fact is, it's kind of a double-edged sword. Well, we got this debt and all of that stuff, but then after it's all done, they still go ahead and spend and raise the debt.
And by the way, it's not just one side. It's not just the Democrats. The Republicans are guilty of this too.
Yeah.
They're spending money they don't have, folks.
Yeah.
If you did that at home with your own budget, you would be bankrupt. You'd be in court. You can't do that. But
you've got to take the political mechanism out of it because it's just a Habuki dance, and that's all there is to it.
Scott Jennings on CNN was talking with some of his fellow panelists. Jennings, like we've said before, is one of the only conservatives at CNN. I envision him having an office down by the boiler in the basement because they must hate the guy. But he says that Biden will go down as a failed president and a disgrace. At one point towards the end of the audio, you hear one of the panelists join in. He interrupts them to say, well, Trump did this to it. I mean, they tried desperately to always include Trump in the equation. And then at the very end, another panelist actually kind of jumps in, and it sounds like he's coming to the aid of Jennings. Listen.
I mean, he should have never run for re-election. Mike is exactly right. When he got asked about regrets, the fact that he didn't say, I regret that 13 American service members lost their lives in Afghanistan, to me, that he can't muster the courage to say that now is a disgrace. Beyond that, he's leaving office in disgrace. I mean, you got less than 20% of the American people now that think the country's on the right track. That's a lower number than it even was on Election Day. And what's happened since Election Day? He pardoned his son, Hunter. He commuted the sentences of a bunch of evil killer thugs on federal death row. Not all of them, just the ones that he wanted to. Didn't even make a principled stand on that. And then he went on vacation, which is where he is right now. This is a failed, disgraced president, and he has never, ever owned up to what happened in Afghanistan and the role that played in destroying those families' lives and destroying his own presidency.
So I think Donald Trump needs to say, I'm sorry that 1 million people died in COVID while I was telling people to shine light in their bodies and take disinfectant.
That's false.
No, that's exactly what he said. He said you should shine light in your own body.
Again,
right?
I'll go through this with you guys.
And take disinfectant.
Right, we can fact check.
He needs to say he's sorry for that.
He speculated about the effect of light on the virus and disinfectant.
Right. While the doctors still be
people told us to stand 6 feet apart and wear masks, and that didn't exactly solve anything.
Yeah, that's true. But
right.
I love how the guy at the end tries to say that Trump told everybody. I heard Trump talk about was it bleach or something like that?
Right.
It was based upon a piece of fact that it's out there, folks. You can read it for yourself. Unlike, don't listen to clowns who have taken one little thing and extrapolated that line and made it into a whole theory about how to fix COVID. Trump didn't do that. Trump was actually a pretty. He gave Fauci too much deference, if you ask me. He actually, while the crisis was happening,
right,
he gave Birx and Fauci the run of the room. And looking back, that was maybe his biggest mistake. But to hear clowns on the left talk about the bleach thing and cut it out,
Well,
go ahead.
I was going to say, back when all that was going on, I was laughing at it because, I guess you could say I was one of the wackos that was injecting bleach, not deliberately, but the simple fact was I was mountain climbing. I did a slip, I'm accident prone, and I did a slip and I hurt my right foot. As a matter of fact, where I had to have surgery and had a partial amputation of a toe. All right. But in that, what led to that was I got an infection in there that got into the bone, which was very dangerous. So they have to give you an antibiotic that goes through an IV that goes into the arm, goes down the shoulder, down past the heart, and, goes into your system. And I had to do an injection twice a day. Well, one of the things you have to do before you do that IV is flush the line. What is in the saline is bleach, like 0.025% is what's in there.
Yeah.
And then there's also something that you will put over the wound, which is an antiseptic. And I sat there and I opened it up one time and said, man, it smells like bleach. And the doctor said, well, that's what it is. It's watered down bleach. And I'm like going, like what I'm injecting? You go, yeah, you're putting bleach in your body.
Hey, listen, what was on the narrative to ivermectin? The narrative from the left was it's horse medicine. Ivermectin is horse medicine. You know, there's a lot of crossover medicines. There's a lot of medicines that we take that you can give your dog. I mean, not in the same dosage possibly, but it's the same medicine, you know. But they made it sound like they were taking you out to the barn and injecting you in a stall. I mean, ivermectin was a wonder drug, actually, which has been around since what, the 50s? The 50s, they use it for malaria and stuff like that.
It's a parasitic drug. And, you know, a lot of people are going, well, you know, it actually works for cancer. Well, do you know that with cancer, they found that it has similarities to parasitic diseases and or ailments? And so they have found, I mean, major universities, and the research goes back before there was ivermectin. And I'm sitting there going, come on, let's get
Hey, listen, I'll be honest with you. I'd like to buy some. I would like to get some. My wife and I have talked about it, and we've thought maybe we should have some on hand.
Well, I know where you can get it. It's a legitimate place, but they're not an advertiser, so I don't know that I should mention them or not.
Well, maybe you can do it to me off the air, because I'd like to find out where we...
they're down in Florida. It's a legitimate place that you can do. I mean, you send me an email, I'll tell you, because I'm not giving you any top secret information. It's out there.
Right. I have a friend of mine out who lives in the other part of town who, during the COVID vaccine, got COVID. He had ivermectin. He took it. He said, in 5 days, I was perfectly fine. Didn't take any vaccine. Didn't take any, he got the ivermectin, and it worked.
Well, you mentioned something kind of interesting, too, because the big pharma companies, they don't make anything from ivermectin.
Right.
You know, this is kind of it's not a patented drug from what I understand, or if it is, it's expired. So they don't, there's not money to be made. There's not billions and billions of dollars, maybe trillions.
Right.
I don't know, to be made. And that's where the pharmaceutical companies come in. There are natural remedies. I mean, probably in your food pantry, herbs and things like that you use to season the food.
Yeah.
I think I mentioned peppercorns, not pepper, but the peppercorns, that have medicinal purposes to them that get into the cancer and the body health and everything. So there's so many things out there, but pharma doesn't make money out of that. When you can sit there and for, pocket change, get something that'll keep you healthy.
I have to ask you, too. They're talking about this we were talking earlier in the show about bird flu, and they have a vaccine. They want to get it out there. They want to get more doses made. They want to have it on hand. They want to distribute it, all this stuff. But I was thinking, hasn't the pharmaceutical company lost the trust of millions of people? I can tell you that even things like getting the regular flu shot, which I did on a regular basis, I didn't get this year because I don't trust them. I don't trust them.
I always wondered, they go, well, you got to get the new flu shot. There's a new flu out there. All right. How do you have the vaccine for the new flu ahead of the new flu that's come out?
Oh, they'll give you some scientific, they'll say, well, we saw it on the horizon long before.
How did you
see
it on? You had to see it on the horizon because you had it under the microscope because you had it in a vial in your lab.
Well, here's what I don't
somewhere.
trust. Here's what I don't trust about the new flu vaccine. Is you can go into a pharmacy and they'll say we have a new vaccine. It's actually two vaccines in one. They're actually promoting the fact that you can get your COVID shot and your flu shot in the same injection. And I'm thinking, what the heck is that all about? And how do I know that when if I'm just going to get a flu shot, I'm not actually getting two vaccines at the same time? It goes to money again. It goes to what you were just saying a little while ago.
It's money. It's all about money. And, you need to pay attention. And I'm not saying be cautious there, but the simple fact is you need to do your homework. Don't trust what the pharmaceutical companies tell you or the MSN, the NBCs, the CBSs, and the CNNs of the world. And I'm not saying go to Fox either, because I think at one time they were saying, oh, yeah, you got to wear the mask.
Oh, yeah.
The mask didn't protect against anything.
And they'll do it again, Bill. They'll do it again. If the government comes out and says, you got to stay home again and you got to wear a mask and you got to do this, I guarantee you they'll fall in line again, and they'll start shoving that down your throat again.
Yeah.
You know, Ron Johnson, senator from Wisconsin, he was talking about COVID and honesty, and listen to what he said.
Senator, if we don't have a functioning vaccine safety and transparency system, when the government says a vaccine is safe, is that assurance really based in science right now?
Well, I would argue not really, because we don't have true placebo trials of any of the vaccines on the childhood schedule. They're tested against other vaccines. Yeah. So if another vaccine has a certain level of adverse events, you test a new vaccine, has the same level, you go, oh, that sounds safe, but we never tested the original one. So again, you have to take a look at, in totality, what is the rate of vaccine injuries? We really don't know. I mean, VAERS, we've had a Harvard study that, prior to COVID, only 1% of adverse events was actually reported to the vaccine adverse event reporting system. So it dramatically understates the number of vaccine injuries. So that's a problem. It's very difficult because there's money on the line. In order to get compensated, you have to prove that whatever health condition you have was caused by a vaccine. There's such a reluctance within the medical establishment, within our federal agencies, to actually link a vaccine to any kind of health outcome. So we've paid out very little from the vaccine injury compensation fund, virtually nothing to the one designed for COVID. The best solution for this is actually make these products safer and do real science to determine, are there certain conditions that make you more vulnerable for an adverse event? Again, we haven't even been able to ask the question because everybody in the industry just wants to rely on the safe and effective rhetoric and look no further.
Yes, sir. Let me follow up on that. Robert Redfield was at a panel with you, I think just last week. He said it's time to remove the liability protections for vaccine makers so that the courts can get more involved. Your thoughts on his idea?
First of all, I agree with that. I've been saying that for quite some time.
You have.
That original 1986 bill did not provide liability protection for the vaccine manufacturers. That was a wink and a nod agreement that they did it by regulation about a year later. So it really never was not the intent of that bill to completely, obliterate vaccine liability. Now, I would say there has to be some limits to it. We do want drug companies to be able to research and produce new life-saving drugs, but it has to be based on real science and it has to be transparent, and they've got to fess up to when their drugs or their vaccines cause harm. Again, we have to know the truth about these things, and right now we don't.
One of the prerequisites when they came out with the vaccine for COVID, I remember thinking about this. They took away the liability. It means that people who were injured or died from the vaccine, their families, their heirs couldn't sue. They couldn't sue the pharmaceutical companies for wrongful death because they were immune to it. It was they stipulated, we're not going to make the vaccine unless you guys approve this indemnity. All right, what a crock of crap that was.
But the government didn't mandate that we had to wear. Well, I guess in a roundabout way they did.
Yeah,
they kind of did. But there were companies that said, "Oh, you can't work for us. You can't come to work if you don't have a mask on." And the whole 9 yards, or you don't have the vaccine. If you don't have the vaccine, you can't work for us. I remember some voice acting jobs in New York. They were going, do you have your Vax card? No, I don't. I'm a non-vaxxer.
Yeah.
Well, you know what? Good luck with that, and we'll see you. Now.
Yeah.
So if I would have went and got the vaccine and said, okay, you come on to work, and then all of a sudden I got sick, I guess I couldn't sue because I would be dead. This is crap. So, I think that anybody that, we got to hold people accountable.
Do you remember when the vaccine first came out? They said you get the shot and you're all set.
Yeah,
you don't have
shot, that's all you got to worry about.
All you have to worry about, you get the shot and you're immune from the COVID-19. Well, then
kind of like Brill cream.
Yeah, then
dab will do you.
People were getting the shots and they were still getting sick. Well,
because we were lied to.
It won't be as strong a sickness. It'll be a much milder case. But then some people were dying even after they got the shot. I mean,
because you know what? The shot was probably a placebo. It probably was just a ruse.
Well, they manufactured it so fast. I mean, they did hundreds of millions of vials. You have to wonder how many of those were just like you say, placebos. We can't possibly make all that that vast amount of vaccine in such a short period of time. So we'll fill a lot of them with placebos and roll the dice. Now, by the way, that's speculation. We're not saying that happened. We're just speculating that. It seems suspicious they were able to do it.
Let me ask you a question. Let's say you got a placebo, and one guy you get a placebo, I don't. There was talk about what they put into the vaccine. And, some way down the road, you've got to sit there and be able to test it and go, well, these are the people that got the placebo. So is there a marker that's in the real legitimate drug that's in your body and stays in there permanently?
We're in the realm of speculation here, folks, but still it's worth considering. A lot of stuff that we don't know. They're just coming out now and saying, well, maybe some of the stuff the CDC said to us wasn't right. Well, they shoved it down our throat during COVID, didn't they? I mean, they made it sound like it was coming from the mountain in tablet form.
It's not the first time the government's lied about a drug. What was the thing back in the 50s for the babies?
Thalidomide.
Yeah.
It was causing defections and malformations in little children.
Well, you'll have the perfect baby.
And women they took the thalidomide, and they were born with missing legs and missing arms. These little beautiful little babies, because the moms trusted the pharmaceutical companies, and they shouldn't have. And the thing is that they own so much of our world right now. People don't realize how much they own. They own food companies. Some of them own big shares in food companies.
Oh, absolutely. Well, the cigarette industry was that way too. Marlboro, they owned one of them owns Kraft and all that other stuff. And these companies that do terrible things, I don't think they should be allowed into the food chain. But we've got some evil players in the food chain. So, the fact that you mentioned earlier on that pharmaceutical companies want to just take this pill, you got everything you need. Well, you know what? There's probably something in Mother Nature that you can grow in your backyard that you can take and have all you need to be healthy.
Have you seen these things? I'm not going to mention any products, okay? But you see these advertisements for these supplements on TV. You don't have to eat the vegetables. You don't have to have that carrot or these beans.
Yes.
It's all in this little pill. We've got your daily requirement of all you need from those vegetables shoved into that little pill, and it's much more convenient. And I'm thinking to myself, wait a second. You're trying to tell me that instead of going out to the backyard and pulling a tomato and eating the real tomato, it's better for me to go take that little capsule of crap and take that, and that's better for me? Maybe it is. I don't know. Maybe I'm just showing my ignorance, but it doesn't seem like it would be the right thing to do, if you know what I'm saying. Go ahead.
Mother Nature is pretty smart. The planet Earth is a pretty intricate thing. So you got to believe that the reason that we have seasonal fruit and vegetables and different types of food is probably because these are the things that we need at certain junctures of the year. Just go, I like my peaches year round. Well, maybe you don't need peaches year round, but you need a good staple of food, and that's what we need to work on is the natural things that
it's an interesting theory, but then you think, well, wait a second. Up in Alaska, they don't get fruit, or they don't get peaches, at all.
But they have other ways that they survive up there because, again, there are people that say, well, I'm a vegetarian, but vegetarians have to supplement the fact that they don't eat meat, and we are a meat-eating, being.
Yeah.
They've got to supplement that. So we eat red meat. But I think that the planet is plentiful to give you things that you need.
Another thing you and I should talk about before we wrap this show up, we almost forgot, is the drones. The drones are still out there, folks. They're still
we're not
flying
talking
around.
about it.
And nobody's talking about them. Nobody. As a matter of fact, we almost forgot to talk about it just now because there's so much other noise in the news cycle.
A lot of distractions, but look, I don't want to be a scary guy, but I'm just going to tell you something. I've been to New York. I've been to Times Square. I've never been for New Year's because I don't want the crowd. But I'm going like, yeah, you know what? It might be a once-in-a-lifetime thing, but I don't think I would go now with the drones flying around practicing. Drones as big as an SUV that can have guns. And we don't know if our government can't tell you what it is or don't know what it is. I guess I was looking at an old news story when not too many months ago when those Jewish concert goers were sitting there, and then all of a sudden in come the flying missiles and everything, the attack. And I'm going, wow, drones. We're getting, it's almost like we're being fed the drones to get used to them, to where if you were in New York City and getting ready for everything to drop and the ball to drop, and then all of a sudden you see these drones. Yeah, okay, we got them here. They're flying around. They're here to watch the ball drop. And then all of a sudden they come down and strafe the city. This is not any kind of eminent thing that I know, because I don't. I'm just saying I'd be worried about it.
I think that you couldn't get me to Times Square if you had a gun pointed at me. I mean, it is, if you've ever seen Times Square, I mean, you're wall-to-wall people. You're packed in like sardines.
It would be a shooting gallery.
There is I believe it's a Facebook page or an X page. One of those social sites has a page that's being run by some jihadist group. And the article said, well, they only have 500 followers. That's all you need if you're trying to connect with.
That could be a cell group.
Yeah, exactly. But on this page, they were telling people to pick up your swords. Now's the time for the jihad, meaning New Year's, okay? They were literally sending a signal out to like-minded people around the world on this social page. And by the way, I don't think the page has been pulled, Bill. Our stuff will get pulled from some of these sites, but this page is still up there.
Let's say this snake has 500 heads to it, and that's the head of the snake to a den of snakes, And so I'm just saying there's 500 dens out there.
Right.
And there's only one person in that den that needs to be communicated to. And if they go down, somebody else picks up, because that's how it works. So you've got 500 cell groups that might have 50 in each group, 100 in each group, 1,000 in each group. We're screwed.
There's a video online right now of a bunch of young kids in a boat off the coast of New Jersey at nighttime looking for these drones, and they see them. And this was apparently was shot over the weekend, so it's relatively new. And they're pointing out there's one over there, and they were counting the number of drones that were coming apparently from offshore. Now, where they're coming from is beyond me. It has to be from like a ship of some kind that has a launching platform.
All right. And so there's a ship out there. Well, we can't see it. Bull crap. Do you know in the ocean, there are buoys at the bottom of the ocean that do nothing more than sit there and watch and see whatever's on top of the surface or underwater.
I know.
We have got the entire Atlantic Ocean.
Well, do you remember when this was about 2 years ago, a year and a half ago, that pleasure vehicle was going down to the Titanic, and it went down too deep, and it was poorly made. It was a private company, and it crushed and killed the people on board because of poor design, actually, and the pressure from the depth. Well, apparently, one of the methods they were using to find the wreckage of that vehicle, that craft, was exactly what you're talking about. It were the underwater listening devices that we have all over the ocean that are down there listening.
It's like a net, a big giant net under the ocean. That's why we know who, unless of course we did it, we know who blew up the Nord Stream,
Sure.
because we have sensors.
And so does
we
Russia.
know everything. Yeah. Well, you know what? If we put it down there, somebody can hack it. And they may have listening devices too, and China too. We all know what's going on we know what's going on the water, under the water, and in the sky. Let's not even be foolish and lie about this.
Over the weekend, they asked Putin, do you believe in God? And Putin said, I believe in God, and he's on our side.
Yes. Well, that was because they had they shot down the airline, but their defenses were on because there was an attack going on. They were in an active, fight with the Ukraine. Okay. Now the pilot probably knew this too and flew in anyway because, we'll cease our end of the war for you to fly through.
Yeah.
That, I'm sitting there going, Putin did not take responsibility, nor would I have. And I'm not saying.
Hey, we just shot down one of our own F-18 planes off of the Persian Gulf.
I would have acknowledged that it was our. I would have done the same thing. I would have said, "Yeah, we shot it down. It was an accident, but it's not our fault."
Right. You don't fly into a war zone. I mean, they didn't do that in World War II.
It's sad. It's terrible. And what was amazing is that the pilots were able to get that plane down, and we had survivors on it.
Yeah.
I feel sorry for the lost souls. I really do. But there's nothing that I can do, nothing that you can do, or anybody can do. But maybe either the pilots got some wrong information or they made a misjudgment. I don't know.
Okay, so over the week,
sad.
over the holiday, the New Year's Eve holiday, I would, if you can avoid large crowds in big cities, it might be a good thing. I don't know about you. A long time ago, I stopped going to holiday functions because, for one thing, it's amateur night for drivers. People who don't drink the whole year long, they'll go to a party and get hammered, and then they think, I'm fine, I can drive me home. It's not very far, and someone gets either injured or killed as a result of that stupidity. So I avoid parties and I avoid driving on New Year's Eve, but going to New York City on New Year's Eve, God help me, I every time I watch that celebration in quotes, I worry for the people who are there because you just don't know what's going to happen. I mean, we talked about the fact that the drones may be looking for nuclear material, nuclear devices that they've lost. Well, what if they're in New York? What if they're in, New York City, underneath New York City? There aren't just subway tunnels. There are abandoned subway tunnels.
Wow.
There are a whole network of subway tunnels in New York that they're not used.
Okay. We lost nuclear waste.
Right.
You had a truck driver who's got a manifest, who's got a loader, there's all kinds of paperwork. How do we lose that? Unless it was an intentional loss. And we can't find it. Several months ago, maybe it was earlier last year, we lost 65,000 tons?
If you lose nuclear waste, right, you're not going to publicize it or advertise it.
Right.
If you're the government, you're not even going to acknowledge it because you don't want people to worry about it. But in the meantime, you have all these drones flying around, probably with sensors on them, looking for the damn stuff. It's speculation, but
yeah, and so that could be a dirty bomb, but yet there are unaccounted for nuclear warheads that came from the Ukraine, from the Soviets.
I know, Bill.
When it fell, and that has been. It's amazing that now it's just being talked about. They have been gone for a few decades, missing.
I want to say that they were talking recently about 8 missing warheads, but I think
it was 12.
I think it's a lot more than that. And what if they decide to set one off? God forbid. I would say to my friends who listen to this show who live in New York, I think the world of you, all of my friends in New York City, you might want to go visit family out of state for at least the holiday, just to make things safe.
You could put one of those warheads, I'm assuming, in the back of a van or maybe a trunk of a big car. I don't know. I don't know how big they really physically are because
they're called,
never been around them.
They're called suitcase nukes for a reason.
Well, that's the dirty ones.
No, they also had made nuclear explosion. They made explosive devices that were bombs that were the size of a suitcase.
Yeah. But I understand they're missing the big warheads too.
Oh yeah.
So you get that. I mean, how big around is a rocket? Well, it's pretty big, but a truck or something like that could deliver it and detonate.
You remember during World War II, there was it Fat Boy and Big Boy or something like that. The bombs that went off in Hiroshima and Nagasaki. One of them was a Fat Boy. They called it a Fat Boy because it was a big fat bomb. The other one was called Little Boy, I think, and it was a much smaller, more compact device that literally, this is 1945, folks. It was maybe the size of a small car. Now they got nuclear bombs. The warhead of it can fit into a small missile. So you don't. When I say suitcase nukes, they don't have just dirty bombs in a suitcase. They have explosive nuclear devices that are literally compact explosive bombs. Go ahead, Bill.
Is Iran a stable country to you?
Absolutely not. No.
Okay, we used to be worried about Iran and having nuclear capabilities. Well, they got a reactor, though. The power of the thing. They're enriching uranium, and they're at 65%. 75%, you've got a bomb. 85%, you got a pretty damn good bomb.
That's what we know. That's what we know. That's what they're telling us. What if it's already been, they're beyond that point? We're saying, they were saying a year and a half ago, they'll be able to make a bomb in a year. Well, that was a year and a half ago. They're still saying to the people, well, they're close to being able to enrich a bomb. Bull.
I say they got it.
I agree.
I say they got it. And that's why people aren't buying what the news is saying. They're not buying what the government's saying. I'm not buying what Biden's saying. And there are people, nuclear bunkers are up now. It's worse than the 60s when people were buying them. People are buying them or building bomb shelters because you want to preserve yourself. You want to live. Do you want to live in a post-nuclear Armageddon
apocalyptic world? No, absolutely not. See what Carrie Lake is not going to run again. At least that's what she's saying. No, I don't.
Okay, I want to say my name is Judy Cervantes. I'm here because of my nieces and my nephew. But we want to ask you, are you running for governor again?
Oh, my gosh. You know what, guys? I am going to go help President Trump in Washington, D.C. That's what I'm going to do. I'm going to help President Trump. That's where I want to do as much as I can to make sure that we get this country turned around. So thank you for the question.
Okay, now the media says, Carrie Lake announces she will not be running for office again. I didn't get that out of that.
She didn't say she's not running again. She's saying she's going to Washington to help Trump, which means she's got a job right now.
Yeah, but see, a lot of things can happen between now and the next time there's an. I wouldn't be surprised if she runs for Senate again. Maybe she'll move to a different state. They were talking about her moving, I think, to Iowa.
There could be an appointee, and they say, hey, girl, you go get your butt over in that state, and you're going to be appointed to that position. We're not going to give the Democrats a chance to sit there and steal it again. You're going to go in, and then once you're in, and the election comes around, should be smooth sailing. Because she's a smart cookie. She did news for a long time. The people that stole it are failing miserably. That took things away from her.
They have. I don't know. Maybe I'm I think that was an obvious fixed election. I mean, they were counting votes for that election like a month after the election. And they were, remember they had the cameras were in the polling, in the counting area. They had set it up in like an arena, and it was like we were going to get an answer. We were going to find out what really happened. And they followed it like it was a sporting event, and nothing came from the damn thing. Because when push came to shove, the Maricopa County elections people, who were, I think, corrupt, they decided we're not going to do anything with it. We're just going to leave it alone and go with the results that we have, and that's it. And that was that. And so Katie Hobbs was the governor. Somebody totally unqualified, in my opinion. She sounds like a valley girl, and I'm not just talking with the tone of her voice, but I mean, her thinking is that of a valley girl. It's like, ay, this is your governor? But then again, it was during a time when a lot of politicians were that way. When Joe Biden mumbled, I mean, holy smokes. Anyway, Bill, I was looking at the clock on the wall. We're close to running out of time here. I should point out to all of our listeners that you still can get Jim and Bill's Right Side Coffee. It's available right now at rightsideshop.com. It's a delicious blend of medium roasted coffee and medium decaf roasted coffee. And a portion of the proceeds go to us here. And it's not going to make us rich by any stretch of the imagination, but we intend to put the monies back into the show so we can promote it, which is something we have not done over the first 3.5 years of our program, or whatever it is, 3 years of our program. We're in our fourth year now, but we intend to see what promotion will do if it'll increase it significantly. I mean, we're doing $4 million. If we pay for promotion, might it increase it to $40 million around the world? I mean, who knows?
You never know. You never know.
Yeah.
We'll find out.
Yeah.
Hopefully here soon. But I will point out, yes, it's a medium roast, rich in flavor, not mediocre like other.
That's right.
Blends from other people.
Absolutely. And we also are the only...
Gotta sell ourselves.
We're the only coffee that has Juan Jose and the Border Crosses singing the jingle. Right?
Wake up on the right side with Right Side Coffee.
Nobody sings it like those guys, huh? Anyway, try it. Jim and Bill's Right Side Coffee at rightsideshop.com. Hey, my friend, I think we have just about done it for today. Been a busy day, but you know what? We're going to take another one of those holiday weeks this week because it's a holiday. I mean, we have New Year's coming up on Wednesday. I know, and we're going to kind of chill a bit. We got, 3 shows in last week, and we also have, I hope you like the new featurette we're doing, which is, in case you missed it, it's something which, in case you missed an important part of one of our shows or a couple of segments from one of our shows, we put it together and make a little featurette out of it and run it on the weekend. I hope you get a chance to listen to that. Anything else you want to add before we wrap this up, sir?
No, I'm just going to drink my coffee and, kind of relax and check out the news of the day.
Sounds good to me. I'm done here.
Well, I'm done here, too. So until we talk again, hasta la vista, baby. We're out of here.
This is CRN America.